Now it's time for search and rescue. That's topping the hill on NewsNation tonight. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm Blake Berman with you here on the Hill for the next hour at the White House, where today most of the focus is on Florida. Tonight, at least 11 people are dead from Hurricane Milton. We've witnessed recovery efforts to rescue people trapped by rising waters, and some 3 million are without power tonight in the Sunshine State. The Category 3 hurricane making landfall right near Siesta Key, just south of the heart of the Tampa, St. Petersburg area. Among the unforgettable images, you can see some of it there. The roof completely blown off Tropicana Field, the stadium where the Tampa Bay Rays Major League Baseball team plays. And tornadoes whipped across Florida, destroying homes, businesses, a local sheriff's office, and taking the lives of at least 5 people as we know it this evening. Southwest Floridians by the thousands, tens of thousands, even more than that, now awaiting calls from friends and family, and will now have to rebuild their lives.
We said bye to our house when we left. You don't know what you're coming home to, so just hopefully grateful to have a place still standing.
Well, looking at it, it's devastating, but the bottom line is, as long as there's no life loss, things can be replaceable.
Our Brian Enton, Alex Capriello, and Ryan Bass are all across Southwest Florida this evening. Hello to all three of you. We begin tonight with Brian Enton, who is in Tampa for us. Brian?
Blake, Milton really brought some unexpected punches. First of all, there were those tornadoes on the east coast of Florida, which no one seemed to expect. And then there was this. There was this flooding in North Tampa. We're not anywhere near the bay or the ocean right now. This isn't storm surge. This is from the rainwater, Blake. And you take a look, this is a neighborhood that's now totally underwater. The sheriff told me they didn't expect it. This is not a neighborhood that normally floods, and that's why residents here were caught so off guard. They thought this was a safe place away from the ocean for the storm. You see there's an assisted living center right here. This was a major problem. This morning there were water rescues happening here. They evacuated 107 senior citizens out of that assisted living center. It was awful to see. They had to bring them out in wheelchairs. The water was up to some of their stomachs. The water was up to the windows of the building. So thank goodness those first responders got out here early this morning. They were able to get them out. But the water, it's going down slowly, Blake. But the neighborhood's still underwater here. Most of the people are out there. Some people we've seen on second floors who decided to stay, but really have no way to get in or out right now, Blake.
Our Brian Enton live for us in Tampa tonight. Brian, thank you. Now just down the road from Brian, we continue our coverage with Alex Capriello, who is in Sarasota once again for us. Alex?
Yeah, look, the Sarasota area really got hit hard by this storm, the eye literally passing over me. When it comes to the actual infrastructure and the boats that may be out there in the water, many of them didn't stand a chance. Take a look at Angel's Wings right here. This is now a sight that you're seeing all over Sarasota County, these massive boats that have literally been picked up from that powerful storm surge and those even more powerful wind gusts and brought ashore. It's going to take a lot of effort to bring something like this back into the water. Earlier today, I spent my time actually out on a boat visiting through Siesta Key. That is known as the epicenter, where the hurricane actually made landfall. And it was really remarkable, Blake, to actually drive along that coastline, and you could see the damage that this very powerful storm was capable of creating. We saw homes with roofs that were torn off, doors and windows that were completely blown in, and just like Angel's Wings right here behind me, more and more boats that have actually been picked up and lifted onto the shore. It took a lot of time for those federal officials to actually clear that land. For most of the day today, those people that were living in Siesta Key weren't even able to go over to their homes, crossing that bridge and see what was left. Over time, and eventually they were able to open that bridge. People are now going there and assessing the damage. But again, it speaks to just how long and how much time it's going to take for all the people here in Sarasota to actually pick up the pieces of their lives and rebuild. Blake.
Our Alex Capriello in Sarasota. You just heard from Brian Enton in Tampa. In between them, we head now to Ryan Bass, who is in St. Petersburg tonight. He is outside, as you can see there, Tropicana Field, home of the Tampa Bay Rays, where the roof, much of it, was ripped off last night by Hurricane Milton. Ryan.
Yeah, Blake. I mean, we had those hurricane force winds that were coming in here, and we joined you from downtown St. Pete yesterday when much of those gusts were coming through. We actually had the second highest wind gusts recorded in the entire Tampa Bay area from Hurricane Milton. It was the wind here in downtown that caused much of the damage, and that's what you're seeing right here. Take a look at this drone video that we shot this morning as the sun came up of the damage you see from the roof here. That is a basically fiberglass roof with a lot of debris that you can see there. I mean, it's incredible in terms of how much it blew out the entire top of this Tropicana Field roof, and the debris inside is even more jarring. I mean, inside of Tropicana Field, that playing surface, it's completely trashed. This is a field, by the way, that was built in the 80s. The Rays moved in the 90s. They don't have a drainage system inside of Tropicana Field. So you have a lot of this field now that's sitting water. We had 18 inches of rain that came through Pinellas County and St. Petersburg yesterday. And right now the Rays say they're assessing the damage. They're taking a look at everything that's kind of gone on inside of Tropicana Field to see just how bad things are. They've got officials and law enforcement that are going to secure the building to make sure none other debris flies off if we do get any other storms that come through. One thing I do want to note, Blake, that's really important, inside that video where you see at Tropicana Field, you'll see those cots, the 10,000 cots that are inside of the ballpark. Now, originally, this was being used as a staging area and a base camp for a lot of those first responders and emergency personnel, especially the crew that came in to clear a lot of the debris that we saw from Hurricane Helene. Governor DeSantis, the Rays, Tropicana Field, they made the decision to move those crews to Jacksonville on Wednesday. So despite a lot of the reports that were going on of that building housing emergency personnel, nobody was in there last night except essential stadium workers who, had an opportunity to hunker down, and I was told are safe after this storm, Blake. So while much of the damage here outside, the Rays are now assessing inside and say, stay patient with us as we try to see how long it's going to take to get this building here repaired, as this, Blake, became the billboard for the damage that Hurricane Milton caused here in St. Petersburg.
Stay patient. The message not there just where you are or for the Rays, but all across Southwest Florida this evening. One of the many messages tonight. Ryan Bass, thank you very much. Now, there is perhaps nothing more symbolic. It's clearly up there. I mean, when you look at that image of the devastation left by Hurricane Milton, more than the pictures here of Tropicana Field. It's Ryan laid out there, longtime home of Major League Baseball's Tampa Bay Rays. And there is perhaps no one who feels the pain of the damage to that very stadium than Dwayne Statz. He has been the on-air broadcaster for the Rays since the team's inception in 1998, more than 7,000 games under his belt. And Dwayne joins us live here on the Hill. It looks beautiful behind you. That's what happens, Dwayne, after these systems. It's beautiful before, it's beautiful after, but the devastation's been done.
Yeah, the devastation has been unbelievable, and our hearts go out to everyone. We've been fortunate. We were displaced off one of the barrier islands here. Fortunately, we have family who are across the intercoastal, and we're spending time with them. And we are well aware and certainly feel the pain that we're feeling throughout this community. There's no question about that.
When you look at that stadium where you go to work, at least 80 days a year, if not more than that, Dwayne, what goes through your mind? Well,
I'll tell you, it's an unbelievable sight, and as was mentioned in your prior report, that's a building that started in the late 80s, opened in 1990. The Rays came along as the Devil Rays in 98. There's no drainage for that, to my knowledge, underneath. They say, well, let's just play open air, as some people in the game love. And to repair that, they say the offseason is shorter every year. It's going to be short this year. It's devastating what's happened here with Tropicana Field and other parts of this community.
When you look at those images, what do you think it's going to take to rebuild that specific structure? Obviously, there's lots of this all over, north, east, and in some parts to the west.
Yeah, it's difficult to believe that they could reconstruct the top of this ballpark again in time for the new season. Now, nothing is impossible in today's world, but as we look at that right now, it looks a very difficult task. The other option, as we've mentioned, would be to maybe leave it open. And this is my speculation here. Way too early to think about what the the city and county and state planners would do with this, it's going to be a major challenge to get this ready for baseball come late March and early April.
You started out the year, Dwayne, hoping for October baseball, and you got something significantly different here in October. As you zoom out and think about where you are and your community tonight there in Southwest Florida, what do you think the next month or so looks like for the folks there?
Well, a couple things here. The Rays, for the first time in the last 5 or 6 years, are not in the postseason. And as it turns out, as strange as it may sound, it turned out to be a good thing for them. However, going forward, with all of the challenges in this community, the ballpark's a major one, but it is second or third or fourth or fifth down the line because there are a lot of people hurting and looking for places to stay. We've been fortunate that we had some flooding, but our home is going to be fine, and we're going to go back there, and we had a place to go. And our hearts go out to all of those who have lost loved ones and who have lost their homes in what has been an overwhelming experience here in the Tampa Bay region.
Dwayne Statz, voice of the Tampa Bay Rays. Glad to see you're safe. Thank you for joining us tonight here on The Hill. Appreciate it, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you, Blake.
You got it. All right. Meantime, here at the White House, where we are this evening, President Biden earlier today said there will be a long rebuild, and you can believe that. Even before Milton struck, keep in mind, half of the government's annual budgeted disaster relief funds were accounted for. In just the first 8 days of this month, October 1st is the fiscal year. So in basically a week, they ripped through half of the budget for the funds, of course, due to Hurricane Helene. Now, there are now bipartisan calls for Congress to approve of new funds. Our Kelly Meyer here at the White House earlier today, pressing the White House about just that.
Florida Senator Rick Scott said that President Biden agreed that Congress should come back early to fund FEMA. So is there a more urgent need, and is the administration all in line with what we heard from Secretary Mayorkas talking about getting Congress to come back?
I mean, look, what we have been very clear about is Congress needs to act. We had a CR. We had a pretty robust ask in the CR.
I think the Congress should be coming back and moving on emergency needs immediately, and they're going to have to come back after the election as well.
Our Kelly Meyer joins me now here at the White House. Hello.
Hey, Blake.
Nice to be here on your turf.
Your turf. I'm just trying to fill your shoes.
Not on these terms, but here we are.
Yeah.
Funding. Mm-hmm. So some of the language there, CR, means they funded the government through December 20th.
Yeah.
And now there's a question of what FEMA needs, because we have just had two monsters back-to-back rip through the Southeast. Where are we right now? Cut through it for us.
There's a lot of back and forth with Democrats and Republicans on this very issue, and a lot of what you're hearing in the news, and especially what we were trying to get to in this briefing today was, is the administration on the same page on this? What we were asking Karine Jean-Pierre there is, are they going to call Congress back? And then moments later, Biden said, yeah, we should call Congress back. And we heard about that initially on a call with Florida Senator Rick Scott, where he said Biden agreed with him that they should call Congress back
Rick
sooner.
Scott, Republican, is for this. Alejandro Mayorkas, the head of DHS, of course, Biden administration for it. So it seems like that's where some are, but maybe the House Speaker Mike Johnson isn't there just yet.
And I actually was on the phone with his office tonight asking them about just this, because President Biden said he has not spoken to Speaker Johnson yet, but they were saying this request has to come from Biden. He has not reached out to him, but also they were saying, hold on a second, we don't even know the assessment of Milton yet. And they were saying that they do have the funds to meet the immediate needs, which is true. And they are saying, let's just get through this. And they were kind of putting it back on Biden, saying, you're the one that's not distributing this fast enough or getting the aid to them. You have a sufficient amount of aid. Just get it to the people that need it. So we're seeing it back and forth.
So that's the dollars and cents, the politics. Now here's the full-blown politics. Because keep in mind that we heard from President Biden today. He gave remarks, and then he took questions from reporters. And on two different occasions, we are not even 24 hours after Hurricane Milton hit, he absolutely trashed Donald Trump, went after him, called him out by name twice. And Donald Trump today called out the federal government for its response. Watch.
But Mr. Trump and all those other people know it's a lie to suggest that's all they're going to get. That's bizarre. It's bizarre. They got to stop this. They're being so damn un-American.
The federal government, on the other hand, has not done what you're supposed to be doing. in particular with respect to North Carolina. They've let those people suffer unjustly.
So we're here at the White House. 26 days until Election Day. This is the ultimate prize for Kamala Harris and for Donald Trump. And look, President Biden is obviously trying to take the back of his vice president, the Democratic nominee. And you got both sides just slinging mud at each other right now.
Yeah, and it's this political storm we continue to see around this very serious storm, both of them, and people trying to recover and get the aid they need. President Biden, it was interesting, too, as you talk about VP Harris, they were on the call together yesterday, and she kind of stayed away from the politics on that. He was the one that brought up Trump by name. And today, they asked if he had spoken to Trump. He said, "Are you kidding me? No."
Yeah,
and have you talked to him
about... That was the second part of it. That was a follow-up question.
Exactly. He had, has he talked to him about the misinformation? He said no, and then he took the chance to talk to him right there, saying, "Man, get a life," he said. But then you're hearing from Trump that what the Republican argument is that the aid isn't getting to people fast enough. And I will say I covered Irma and Maria. I moved to their islands in the Caribbean to cover the recovery. Aid takes a while to get there. So it is true. And I know Republicans and Democrats agree it could be faster, but they are saying the funding is there and let's just help those who need it.
Kelly Meyer here at the White House. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. All right. Still to come here on the Hill. We are live across Florida as we begin to learn the sheer size of the devastation from Hurricane Milton. And a live look, would you look at this, Pittsburgh, PA. Home state of Kelly Meyer, by the way. But you know who's going to be there in Pennsylvania tonight? Barack Obama, back on the campaign trail as he stumps for Kamala Harris. Hello from the White House tonight. I'm Blake Berman. The Hill on NewsNation is back in 4 minutes. All right, welcome back here to the Hill on NewsNation. We'll be back to the state of Florida, Southwest Florida, later in the show. But first, as we stand here at the White House this evening, new numbers tonight showing just how close this presidential race remains. According to polling from our partners at the Hill and Emerson College, among the 7 key swing states, every single one of the 7 are within 1 or 2%, or they're tied. Connell McShane, host of anchor of NewsNation Now, joins me live from the Wall in New York. Hello, Connell. Nice to talk to you as always, my man. Break it down for me there on the Wall there, because this is just neck and neck, back and forth.
Yes, I think there's 2 things here, Blake. So first of all, this poll shows, to your point, if you're all within 1 or 2%, you're going to see it behind me. I'll go through them. They're all within the margin, right? So that's how close it is. All 7 are within the margin. Second thing, is this part of a larger trend where there's a slight, emphasis on slight, move in the momentum towards Donald Trump? All right, first of all, the numbers here. Let me go up top to Wisconsin and Michigan, because what's interesting about both of those, at least in this poll right in here, they're both tied, literally. They're both tied. Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Trump +1. Arizona's Trump +2. Nevada's +1. Other thing, the economy, Blake. See this? The economy is the top issue. I don't think that surprises anyone.
No.
Right? The only state not up here is Arizona. Because that's immigration. But all the others, you say, what's the top issue? 43, 51%, 47%. Everyone's saying the economy. And this is what I want to talk to you about. If the guys in the control room switch our view to the forecast page from Decision Desk HQ. See this? This is what I'm saying, big picture. So Harris is 51% in her chance of victory. You remember, like, it was about a month ago, that was 55, 56, right?
Little movement.
Little movement. And I think if you look at the big 3, like Wisconsin, so you could, look at Wisconsin. This just changed this afternoon. Win probability, because new data came in Wisconsin.
Right.
GOP, 51%. Harris can't lose Wisconsin. That's a little move towards her. It's been Dems the whole time. And Blake, the other ones, the movement a little bit, again, Michigan is towards Trump. I mean, win probability, because of the fundamentals in Michigan, favor the Democrats, is 60-40 for Harris. But the polling is for Trump by almost a point. And then, go back to you with this. Pennsylvania, obviously, we know is close and always has been. But there's a little bit of movement. Yes, it's close, but it's closer than ever towards Trump.
Last time we had this poll, Connell, it struck me, it was fascinating. They polled something like, I think it was 950 people in the state of Pennsylvania, and it was separated Harris-Trump by one person.
Yeah.
Quite literally one person. So I went into the crosstabs. That's when you get sort of, or at least the more detailed information. And I thought to myself, I wonder what it is today. Georgia, they surveyed 1,000 voters. There was a difference of 9. In Wisconsin, 1,000 voters, a difference of 6. Michigan, 950 voters, a difference of 2. Nevada, 900 voters, a difference of 6. I mean, it's literally a person here, a person there over the course of 1,000. But that's when you start to, go town by town, city by city, precinct by precinct, county by county, so on and so forth. That's why the campaigns say, quite literally, every vote counts.
Well, that's what I'll say as the last point, Blake, is that, obviously I live in New York, but my daughter is a college student in Pennsylvania. Yeah. So I said, register to vote in Pennsylvania. Your vote will matter. Yeah. And if you're right, that could be it. She's going to decide the election by one vote.
Talking politics with us tonight. I thought you wanted to talk the Mets, but
I could always talk the Mets. That's a great series. They're going to win the whole thing.
All right. That's what McShane wants. We'll see. Connell McShane joining us live tonight along the wall in New York. Connell, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Meantime, still much more ahead here on the Hill. Another look, speaking of baseball. Tropicana Field. That is home of the Tampa Bay Rays. One of the images coming out of Florida tonight as the roof there completely torn off. Hurricane Milton. Millions without power right now across Florida. At least 11 people that we know of killed because of the storm. We heard from our Brian Enton. They're trying to get people out of their homes across the water. Story after story. Our live coverage, live from the White House, continues. Plus, look who's back. That is a live look in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Barack Obama out on the campaign trail for the first time. We'll take you live to Pittsburgh and what he plans to say. That's on the other side when we return. All right, welcome back. Welcome back here to the Hill on NewsNation. Florida this evening is now in recovery mode, picking up what Hurricane Milton destroyed last evening, the Category 3 storm that made landfall around Siesta Key, slammed through the same region, still reeling from Hurricane Helene that passed through parts of Florida 2 weeks ago. At this hour in Florida tonight, millions are still without power as we know it. At least 11 people are dead tonight, and it is about to be sunset there, or at least getting to it. It normally sets this time of year around 7 o'clock. Alex Capriello is live for us once again in Sarasota, and this will be part of the challenge over the evening. Alex, you know this, when you're through a storm, there's no power, you've got devastation all over, and what do you do next?
Right. Yeah, exactly. We're already calling our hotel just out of curiosity to find out if the power's back on. Sorry for us, no power quite yet, but we are one of, tens of thousands all across Florida that are still dealing with this. And when we think about Sarasota specifically and the storm that we experienced last night, there were two main weather events that really did the most destruction. Number one was those very, very powerful wind gusts, particularly when that eye wall came swinging right back around. That's when we really felt the force of it. And that's what led to such wreckage, like we're seeing right here behind me, these massive trees that have just tumbled over, came crashing down. We've seen people already out here with their chainsaws doing their best to kind of clean it up, but we know it's not just going to be one day. It's going to take a lot of time. All right, the second main weather event that really did Sarasota some massive destruction was that storm surge, nearly 10 feet of water just spilling over and pushing towards these condos. And this is what now remains in many of these condo parking garages and the low-lying levels here. You can see there's still several inches of water here at the base of this parking garage, and there's no place for this water to go, Blake. It's going to take a lot of effort, probably a lot of wet vacs to suck it all out and get it out of here. But in the meantime, the lower level of this condominium really is in not in good shape right now. A testament to sort of the wreckage and the damage that we're seeing in Sarasota. We already took you out on the boat earlier for my earlier shot where we showed you what Siesta Key looks like. That was the epicenter, right, where the hurricane made landfall. It's only about 20 minutes to the south of me, but really all across the southwest coastal Florida, we're seeing a lot of damage from that storm surge, from that record rainfall, and from those very, very powerful wind gusts that have sent debris and power lines like this toppling down.
Our Alex Capriello live once again in Sarasota this evening. Alex, thank you. All right, turning now to the race for the White House. A live look, Pittsburgh, PA, where the former president, Barack Obama, will be holding a rally for Vice President Kamala Harris, set to take the stage about 30, 45 minutes or so. Meantime, the other former president, Donald Trump, current Republican nominee, in the auto capital of Detroit today, offering up a new proposal. He says if he gets back over here to the White House, he will not tax the interest that you pay on car ownership.
But this is what you've been waiting for, because today I am also announcing that as part of our tax cuts, we will make interest on car loans fully deductible.
All right, so this follows a continuing pattern for the former president in offering tax cuts, or in the home stretch here of the presidential campaign, you could say tax freebies, following his call for no tax on tips and no tax on Social Security. By the way, Vice President Harris has also adopted the no tax on tips policy. Meantime, the Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas today over here at the White House, or at least during a briefing, would not answer questions about an alleged Election Day terror plot. It comes after the FBI arrested a man from Afghanistan on Monday who was allegedly planning a violent ISIS-supported attack in the United States. The DHS secretary pressed on the story during a press conference earlier today.
I'd be pleased to discuss this issue at a different time, but I am here to speak about disasters that have impacted people's lives in real time, and that is a subject that I am addressing today.
So no answer from him today when he was asked about it on several occasions. Over now to the 44th president, who is back out on the campaign trail, as I mentioned, on behalf of the vice president. Live look, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where former President Barack Obama set to take the stage at the top of the hour. Joe Khalil, NewsNation Washington correspondent, is in Pennsylvania tonight. Joe, we're hearing that this is the first of many. I mean, we're only 26 days away until Election Day, so how many more can there be? But the point is, this is the first of many for Barack Obama down the home stretch.
Yeah, it is, and that's important, Blake. That's an important point. You can feel the energy here. There's a lot of anticipation in this room for the person who may very well be Kamala Harris's most important surrogate, maybe the party's best messenger in former President Obama. He has not done a whole lot of events since the DNC. This is his first big campaign speech, campaign rally for the Harris campaign. The Obama office says that is a calculated move, that the more events he does, the less importance and significance each one carries. But this is the first of several. They say moving forward between now and the end of Election Day, they want to be calculated, I am told, with how they use the former president, moving him into places where they think he would have the most impact. So think swing states where he's popular, think places where you got young voters. This is both the university here in Pittsburgh, where you got a swing state and you've got a lot of college age and younger people here attending this rally. I'm told that beginning tomorrow, we may see more scheduled events being at least announced. But imagine this is a fight, according to Obama's office, that he doesn't want to be on the sidelines for. You're going to see him more and more regularly between now and November 5th, Blake.
Joe Khalil, live for us in Pennsylvania tonight. Joe, thank you. Come on in. Connor Lamb, former Democratic congressman from the state of Pennsylvania, back here on the Hill with us once again. Congressman, thanks for being with us this evening. Barack Obama, any moment now in your home state. I was looking at our polling from the Hill and Emerson College today. In Pennsylvania, approval rating 54-45 for Obama. So he is above water in your state just slightly. What's the risk reward of putting him out there on the trail in Pennsylvania as you see it?
Well, that's a much better favorable, unfavorable than either of the two candidates have. So I think it's mostly reward. I don't think there's a whole lot of risk. Specifically, I'm sure that they think he helps with some younger voters, African-American voters, and then to a certain extent, some suburban voters, probably who are mostly in our camp anyway. But they chose a college campus for this event for a reason. There is a fear that younger voters might be going to Trump in slightly more numbers than they were in the past. And so he might be able to help us stop that trend.
Kamala Harris was doing a bit of media herself earlier this week. One of the spots that she was on was The View. I want to play for you what she said. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
She basically didn't separate herself there from President Biden. Again, I'm looking at the numbers. Approval rating for the current president, only 40% in your home state approve of what she's doing. It's not really a complicated question of how would you do something differently. Does she need to have a better answer than that, in your view?
Well, I get what you're saying. I think where I would start from it is I do think that she is personally very loyal to President Biden. And I've believed all through this campaign that that is something that transcends whatever Biden's favorability numbers have to be on a certain day. I think people who aren't even that happy with Biden can respect the idea of loyalty to someone that they work closely with, because we all practice that in our own lives.
What should her answer be though? Because you have to know that's coming.
I think it might be better to talk about how so much of the Biden presidency was consumed by COVID and the reaction to COVID that it was sort of unique, and it's not going to be repeated again in the next 4 years. And so to the extent she does things differently, it's going to be in a different context. But, she, like I said, you only get a short window to answer these things. And I think she wants people to know that loyalty is something she takes seriously.
Congressman, there have been lots of headlines, I should say, in the recent days about Democrats starting to get maybe a little bit nervous. You could say, well, maybe it's down the home stretch kind of nerves. Maybe it's looking at polling and it could be pulling back just a little bit. There was a story, for example, today in Politico in which it suggested even that she named Mitt Romney as her Secretary of State. Are you there? Are you getting nervous? Are you among the Democrats who worry that this could be trending in a slightly less desirable direction for your party, or are you not there yet?
Yeah, look, I mean, I did almost all of my politicking among people who were to the right of center and trying to convince Trump voters to be for me. So I'm always worried about those types of people. Those people definitely don't care if Mitt Romney is going to be the next Secretary of State. That would not be the move. But I think, just showing some strength, leadership on the economy. And I think to your earlier question, we're at the point now where making a more serious break from the economic policies of the last 4 years would, I think, show some guts, which is another thing that people can respect. So I don't know which way she chooses to do it, but the thing you run into here is the feeling that people aren't sure what they're getting with Vice President Harris, where they feel like they know what they're getting with Trump. And so she has to find some unfiltered way to convince people that they know who she is now.
So I'm glad I didn't cut you off. I was almost about to do it, I'll admit it, because Kamala Harris was literally just speaking live to reporters, and then she just got up the stairs to Air Force Two, and it wrapped. Do you think she should do more of that?
I do. I think those are always a little bit rushed and maybe hard for people to follow. I liked the format of a town hall, like I know she's doing one with Univision today. Some of that more localized, or she's done these longer interviews with like local TV channels here in the Pittsburgh market. Right. I don't know why we're not doing that every day or every other day somewhere. It seems like it's much more spaced out than that.
Connor Lamb, former Democratic congressman, fascinating to always hear your perspective in the middle of it all there in Pennsylvania. Thanks for being back with us tonight here on The Hill. Appreciate it. You got it. All right, still to come here from The Hill on News Nation. We are live again from Florida as residents there continue to deal with the aftermath of Hurricane Milton. Plus, of course, there's also North Carolina, and they are trying to get on their feet there after Helene, 2 weeks after the fact. The congressman who represents the district in the middle of it all joins us live.
NewsNation tonight, in the face of a dangerous hurricane.
NewsNation will take you through what's going on with Hurricane Milton.
Live on the ground in Florida as Milton makes landfall. Cuomo, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on NewsNation.
6:45 here on the East Coast this evening, and welcome back here to The Hill on NewsNation as we continue to track the recovery efforts and devastation Hurricane Milton left as it barreled through Florida right around this point last evening. Our Brian Enton is once again on the ground in Tampa. Brian, it was fascinating for me to hear you say at the top of our show here, there's so many stories, right? So many storylines, but of how you were talking to seniors who just needed help getting out of their homes. And I wonder what else you're seeing this evening.
Yeah, there was the entire senior center that was underwater from all the flooding from Hurricane Milton. And again, it wasn't the storm surge, it was just all the rainwater. I want to show you this. This is a different spot we're at now, Blake, out at this intersection. This entire road here in North Tampa is flooded, and the water has gone down. A lot of these cars were totally underwater. Now you can kind of see the tops of them, but all the businesses are flooded down here. And the water's starting to recede, but it just got me to thinking about how, they just cleaned up from Helene, And cleaning up from a flood is a mess. You know, you have to go in and you have to empty everything out and get all the drywall out and get all the furniture out. And everything is ruined. And that's what they're going to have to do again here now because the water was probably up to about my waist, enough to go into all the houses and businesses here and pretty much destroy everything. So it's calm tonight. The sun is going down, water going down, but tomorrow we'll likely start the cleanup, Blake.
Brian Enton live for us in Tampa once again. Brian, appreciate it. Thank you. Over now to St. Pete, Ryan Bass, who was outside. You can see it there. Tropicana Field. It is the home of the Tampa Bay Rays. Most of the roof just went like that last night. Ryan, we were talking to Dwayne Statz, voice of the Rays. Called some 7,000 games here at the top of the show. And you got to wonder what they're going to do with that behind you. But it's also just one structure. It's a big one, huge one. But one structure of so many across Southwest Florida tonight.
No doubt. And I think, Blake, this one really is the postcard for the damage and the destruction that Hurricane Milton did to the western part of Florida. And I think this will be the image we remember. And that doesn't take anything away from the families that have endured so much and the homes and businesses that have been destroyed. But I think when people think back, you think of Katrina, you think of the Superdome, right, in New Orleans. When you think of Milton, you're going to think of Tropicana Field and this roof being ripped to shreds. Step one for the Rays is they're going to have to assess the damage and the viability of using this ballpark. That's going to be number one, as you see some of the images we shot and caught this morning. Step two is to get some local law enforcement in there and secure the building, make sure there's no debris that could fly off after the damage that was done for Milton. And then step three is, what are they going to do with all of the rainwater that flooded inside the playing surface? That building, that stadium was built in the 1980s. The Rays moved in the late 90s. It doesn't have a drainage system. So how do they get all that water that seeped into the infield dirt and the playing surface out? That's going to be the challenge. And by the way, opening day for the Rays in 2025 is March 27th. So they don't have a ton of time to get this thing rebuilt and potentially fixed in order for this team to get back in that ballpark. The Rays did send out a statement. They said the most important thing is nobody was hurt inside that building in terms of the essential stadium personnel that were there. And the most important thing is they're asking for patience as people, try to recover, including the baseball team here with one of the most iconic buildings here in town damaged by this storm blade.
Ryan Bass live for us once again in St. Pete tonight. Ryan, thank you very much. All right, now back to the race for the White House. Joining us again, NewsNation Washington correspondent Kelly Meyer with me here at the White House. Julia Manchester, national political reporter for TheHill.com, with me as well. Hello to you both. Thank you both. Before I get to Julia and the race for the White House, Barack Obama live here in about 15 minutes or so. FEMA, everything that we just saw there with the two storms, that's the conversation that's going to dominate this building here behind us. Because, look, we talked about President Biden being a lame duck president. And what could you do? Foreign affairs and disasters? Well, there are two big ones that he's dealing with right now.
And we were talking about this all week. We've noticed him out front and center doing remarks every day. Remember that time when we didn't see Biden at all and he wouldn't come to the camera? We've been seeing him very often here at the White House, coming out very much every day to talk with us, talk with reporters, and in the Situation Room getting briefed on this. So he is taking full advantage of his ability, because otherwise he would be on the campaign trail doing this. So he's able to be here and give his full attention to this recovery, which is what these people need right now.
That, of course, live look, Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, sitting governor, Democratic governor, ahead of Barack Obama, who was speaking out on the campaign trail for Kamala Harris later tonight. Julia Manchester, national political reporter for The Hill. We're told there's going to be a lot more of Obama down the home stretch. So far, no Michelle Obama, which is also interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting, Blake. I mean, just attending and covering the DNC a few months ago was interesting. Being in the room when Michelle Obama introduced Barack Obama. Look, they're obviously two star players in the Democratic Party, but I think even Barack Obama alluded to this himself. I think Michelle Obama's applause was louder than his. So she really is. They're both secret weapons, or not so secret weapons, but she is certainly could bring the star power. But clearly Barack Obama being, going out on the campaign trail to give Kamala Harris a boost in Pennsylvania. From what we understand, it is completely deadlocked in Pennsylvania. And actually, the Hill and Emerson College polling came out with new data earlier today that basically shows in every one of the major swing states this being within the margin of error between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. So she needs a boost.
Our White House correspondent, our local PA girl as well, big moment in your home state tonight. What do you think they're trying to accomplish here?
And, and you say this all the time, the most important thing that these candidates have is time and where they spend it in these last final 3 weeks we're coming upon. I'm heading out to Erie, Pennsylvania on Sunday because that's where Kamala Harris is going to be. Pennsylvania is where it has come down to the past 2 elections, and it may very well this time around. They show where they care about by who they put there, and with Obama there tonight, bringing out the big guns there, they are concerned and want to make sure they are focusing on Pennsylvania because Trump was just there twice in the past week and will be. So it's going to be close, and they are going to keep, and we know Obama will be in other battleground states for them as well.
Thanks to our big guns here, Kelly Meyer, Julia Manchester. Thank you both. Appreciate it. Other side of the break, as we take a live look at Pennsylvania, Leland Vitter, host of On Balance, joins me live. Stay with us here on The Hill. Welcome back to The Hill here on NewsNation, live tonight from really the ultimate prize, the White House. And a live look right now in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That, of course, the sitting governor, Josh Shapiro, rallying for Kamala Harris. But the main event there tonight in Pennsylvania, the 44th president of the United States, former President Barack Obama, out on the campaign trail for the first time this election cycle. Host of On Balance, Leland Vitter, joins me live. Hello, Leland. They say they're going to put Barack Obama out on the trail often in the last 26 days. You would do that if you're Democrats. I find it interesting. We haven't really heard much talk of Michelle Obama, and you would think that that's coming at some point down the line, too.
Certainly could be. We mentioned it during the convention, right, when Michelle and Barack Obama spoke, said that we're reminded of what once-in-generational talent is, and we're not just talking about Barack Obama. I think the Josh Shapiro appearance is fascinating in that every establishment Democrat and operative I talk to who is not involved in the campaign continues to tell me how perplexed they are, and more so as the campaign goes on, with Tim Walz, and how if Kamala Harris loses, the Josh Shapiro, Tim Walz decision to go with Walz is going